There's one proposition that I think would unite just about everybody, regardless of your political commitments and your attitudes toward President Donald John Trump. The thing that unites people is the recognition that this president is different. He is unique. He is literally the only president we've ever had who has, during his own service, his period of time in the White House, has basically suggested, I am the greatest of all time. There's the GOAT, and President Trump has suggested that. The other day, he was talking about comparing himself to the other two greatest presidents, in Trump's opinion. That's George Washington, who basically created the country, and then Abraham Lincoln, who saved it from civil war and self-destruction just 7 years later. In any event, it is fascinating that President Trump feels the need to put himself on the same level or even higher than Lincoln and Washington. But what about those historical claims? What makes a president particularly great? And why would it be difficult for Trump to actually make the argument that he is among the greatest of the great? The real difficulty is not his record of accomplishment or his ability as a speaker or as a communicator. It has to do with the fact that what makes a president great is his ability to, well, as they used to say in kindergarten, play well with others, to actually work with other forces that help to determine whether a president is going to succeed or fail in his service. Someone to be a great president has to work well with Congress and with the courts and with the other branches of government. Part of what made Washington so great and part of what made Lincoln so great was the ability to handle those other elements of the federal government. And in Washington's terms, it was really defining those elements. But if you look at other presidents who have been highly successful, they have been presidents like FDR, who had a tremendous relationship with a very heavily Democratic Congress. But it was more complicated than that because at the time, many of the Democrats were Southern conservatives and segregationists who were very different from Roosevelt and what Roosevelt was pushing. But the point is, the one thing about Roosevelt that people look at as the darkest, as the most negative aspect of his entire presidency was his court packing scheme, where he was showing a lack of cooperation with both the Congress and with the judiciary when he was trying to overcome a series of negative Supreme Court decisions by adding extra seats to the Supreme Court. And this was a very rare congressional defeat and a very rare in the 3 terms that he served. He was elected for a 4th term, but he only served a month of that 4th term. But for Roosevelt, FDR, that was considered a complete anomaly because it was so clumsy and so unsuccessful in handling the other branches of government. The second thing that a great president needs to accomplish is not his relationship with other elements of the government and of the political system, but his popularity and effectiveness in working with the American people at large. It's impossible for a president to claim greatness if he has gone through most of his presidency basically polarizing people. And this is one of the big arguments against Trumpian greatness, is the people that we look at as our most successful presidents, including presidents that you wouldn't normally think of, like Andrew Jackson, who I know President Trump very much identifies. Jackson, yes, had very negative opinions and reactions from some of his political opponents, but he had an overwhelming majority of Americans who believed in him and believed in what he was doing. That has never been the case with Trump. There isn't any period of time where he has had overwhelming support by the public. And the two elections that he won were elections where he lost the popular vote the first time that he ran, and then lost the second time that he ran, where he lost the popular vote by 7 million votes. And with his polling now, his polling has never been much above just a 50% split. So for President Trump to see himself as the greatest of all presidents, when, number one, he has had a very rocky and divisive relationship with Congress, certainly in his first term, and in his second term, the first 9 months, with the Congress very closely divided there too. But also, he has not been tremendously successful in uniting the electorate. People like the presidents on Rushmore, including Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. These are leaders who were unifying, and not only in terms of the executive and the legislative and the judicial branch of government, but in terms of public opinion and the voters of the country at large. It's why even presidents who have accomplished a great deal, who have kept campaign promises, people use the example of James K. Polk, who made a few promises, and one of the promises, by the way, was to serve only one term. He never was able to achieve the kind of bond with the American people that Reagan, for instance, achieved. Reagan, even though he, during his presidency, had the entire time a Democrat-dominated House of Representatives, Reagan was very successful in working with Congress and in getting the votes that he needed to enact his program. And he was also a consistently popular president, despite scandals and setbacks that characterized his last couple of years in office. So could President Trump change everything and become the kind of unifying figure for public opinion and for the other elements of government that great presidents have been in the past? Anything's possible, and one can only wish for the best, for success for this administration, and success, more importantly, for the United States of America. That, I think, is an important perspective to keep in mind before anyone takes too seriously the president and his followers' claims of his peerless greatness. That's it for this perspective and this bit of context offered by me, Michael Medved.